up your little...
Well, I think my mic is on. Am I okay? Okay, I can move it closer to my face.
Levels, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Just start talking, I'll do it.
Okay, well, I'm here from Amplimedia, as Stephen just so kindly introduced me. I'm really excited to be here today. I'm not actually, oh, that's too loud. I'm not actually going to show you any of our videos today, because it's not about me or us. What I want to do is kind of dive into the oh, that's not quite right. There it is. And it's not actually on screen.
Say what?
Woo! I want to dive into the mentality behind why we do what we do, and he's going to troubleshoot this while I just keep talking. We create videos because we're looking to present information in a way that's a lot more stimulating and a lot better at holding the super short attention span of our audience. And what I hope to accomplish today is give everyone a little bit to chew on, hopefully give everyone some new stuff that you've never seen before or heard of, some new ways at looking at communications that you can chew on and walk away with, and hopefully we can get some interactive discussion going and talk about a few of the different kinds of media that I'm going to touch on. So, and also thanks to Steve for giving me my fantastic title, which is very fitting for me and my short attention span. So I'm going to take us on a, Steve, this really isn't working. Because now it's not on the computer monitor.
You know what? I'm just going to sit here and you just tell me when you advance.
Because right now I'm just seeing all desktop.
That's cool.
Oh, you're going to click for me?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's fantastic.
There it is. Next slide.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to take us on a treasure hunt. And
That might help.
oh, look at that.
Oh, yay!
Problem solved. So
I just wanted an excuse to sit on an awesome hardwood floor. You took that away from me. It was me.
thank you. Okay, cool. So reeling it back in, what are we talking about? We're losing our audiences, and I don't know if that means that we had them at some point and now they're going away, or if we never really had as strong a hold on them as we thought we did to begin with. So the average attention span in the year 2000 was 12 seconds, and the attention span now is about 8 seconds. And for context, the attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. So we're actually below that now. And what I just want to touch on really quickly, what we're talking about here is focused attention spans, not sustained attention spans. So as marketers, that's always going to be what we're thinking about. What now? Okay, well, good. We're always looking at the focused attention span, not the sustained attention span. A sustained attention span is what you think of when you're sitting at your desk working during the day, or you're washing dishes, or in class listening to a lecture. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 minutes is what they say that is on average right now. But as marketers, we're looking at focused attention spans. So when we give that stimulation, whether it's that really witty tweet that's accompanying a link, and you get their attention with that and you get them to click, you only have them for about 8 seconds until you need to give them that next bit of stimulation or that next hook so that you still have them and you haven't lost them within that 8 seconds of them clicking. So what that translates into after that witty tweet or whatever it is that you've hooked them with, on a web page with 111 words or less, you're getting, on average, close to half of those words read. But on the average web page, I think the study, it was like 59,000 or 60,000 page views across the whole web that they were studying. And the average web page from the study was 593 words. I think that's a pretty safe average for across the board for most web pages. And only 28% of words are being read on the average web page. So that's something to think about. And what that kind of translated into in the study was that for every 100 words that people are writing on their web pages, they're only getting like 4 extra seconds of the viewer's time. So, you know, you think, well, if I write all this, maybe they'll skim it and I'll get, you know, they'll at least get a little bit more of that message because I have so much that I need to communicate. but really you're losing them more and more because the psychology behind it, from what I understand, and the same goes for video. I mean, we're doing this research all the time. When something loads up and they see how long it is, the thought is already, oh, this is so long. I know I'm not going to sit through the whole thing. And so they're already thinking about, at what point am I going to just get out of here? Because I already know I'm not going to read the whole thing. Whereas if we're keeping it really short and concise, and same with video, we try and keep our videos less than 2 minutes, always, in a perfect world. That way, you load up the video, you see, oh, it's only 1.5 minutes, I can watch that. And you're a lot more likely to watch a higher percentage of the video. Not just a longer duration, but, you're actually going to sit through more of it. Whereas if it's a 5-minute long video, you're not going to watch the whole thing. So you're going to be popping out after maybe only 30 seconds or a minute. So it's really important to think about what's going on in the minds of our users and not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it. So on social media, we're losing our audience for those reasons, but also because we're competing with a lot of things. Ridiculous things. Nonsense, really. Things like this, videos, adorable photos, and endless political nonsense also. So with all of this crap, just saturating and overwhelming Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds, how are we supposed to create content or put stuff out there and get our key messages across in a way that, how are we supposed to compete with that is basically the question, because this is the same stuff that we're sharing social media with. It's just nonsense that's way more distracting and fun to look at than what we have to say a lot of the time, unfortunately. So how do we compete? Create and share valuable content. Remember, when I first was learning the ropes of social media marketing, that's the rule. That's what you do. It has to be about engagement. You have to be producing content that people care about and sharing it and getting it shared. But what does that mean? Especially now with so much multimedia out there that we're competing against. I'll tell you what it doesn't mean. This. I don't know if we can, let's see if we can zoom in. I took this, it literally took me maybe 30 seconds on my Twitter feed to find this. I just clicked. Sharing this crap, because let's look at it for a second. I only copied the first 4, because I'm sure the 5th wasn't any better, but the first one is write like you know what you're talking about. The second is original content only. It's very sort of common knowledge, it should be at least. When you're writing a catchy tweet like 5 tips to instantly improve your content writing, I would hope if you're writing content for the web, you already know these things. And sharing these things without, and I know we're all guilty of it, sometimes you share these things without even actually reading the content because you see that it's 5 simple blank and you're like, oh, that's catchy, people are going to click on that, I'm going to get higher engagement. But we need to stop creating this crap and we need to stop sharing it because it's not stimulating, it's not providing value to our audience anymore. And like they're still using phrases like social media guru in here. And people are still sharing this stuff. So I just want that to be kind of in our minds for today, the ways of the past in terms of content creation. So the obvious, next step is to incorporate images, and that's really important. And I hope that that's sort of something that we're all doing is just using visuals in general. But what I want to talk about today is kind of next level stuff. What kinds of content is out there aside from just text and images alone? So we have content like infographics. Infographics are actually becoming quite ubiquitous as well. They are everywhere, and I know a lot of us, especially that spend a lot of time on the interwebs, are a little bit sick of infographics as well. So I'm going to touch on that in a little bit, what makes them good and what does make them kind of bad sometimes, and the kinds of things that we should maybe stay away from if we're looking to create infographics. I want to talk about what makes them shareable. But basically, it's a really cool way to find information. Well, not find, you have to find it separately. Find information that's important to your audience and that can be connected to your business in some way, and use basic, really cool and simple graphic design principles to present it in a way that, provides the viewer with some stimulation and allows them to soak that up really quickly at a glance. And you can decide really quickly just from looking at it whether it's something you care about. And you really don't have to spend a lot of time on it to get the same amount of information as it would, in a 500-word blog post. That's roughly the same amount of information that you can get across with something like this. And I'm not a designer personally, but I know that I really love to see this kind of content. So the more we work with designers and produce visual content, the more we can keep things interesting and sustain our viewers' attention. I don't know, I'm sure everyone has maybe heard of RSA Animate. They make really cool videos on whiteboards, so this is a really cool style. I wanted to show this because it's something that's a lot more accessible, where you don't necessarily have to hire a video production company to do one of these. You do need an illustrator, someone that can, you can work with to draw out the concepts behind what you're trying to say. But, so I just want to show a little bit of this video. How are we doing for sound?
Our motivations are unbelievable humans.
Can we hear that?
I've been working on this for a few years, and I just find the topic still so engaging. And so I want to tell you about that. The science is really surprising. The science is a little bit freaky, okay? We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think. There's a whole set of studies. I want to give you two that call into question this idea that if you reward something, you get more of the behavior you want. If you punish something, you get less of it. So let's go from London to the mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the northeastern part of the United States. And let's talk about a study done at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Here's what they did. They took a whole group of students, and they gave them a set of challenges. Things like memorizing strings of digits, solving word puzzles, other kinds of spatial puzzles, even physical tasks like throwing a ball through a hoop. Okay, they gave them these challenges, and they said to incentivize their performance, they gave them 3 levels of rewards. Okay, so if you did pretty well, you got a small monetary reward. If you did medium well, you got a medium monetary reward. And if you did really well, if you were one of the top performers, you got a large cash prize. Okay. We've seen this movie before. This is essentially a typical motivation scheme within organizations, right? We reward the very top performers, we ignore the low performers, and the other folks kind of in the middle. Okay, you get a little bit. So what happens? They do the test, they have these incentives. Here's what they found out. 1, as long as the task involved only mechanical skill, bonuses worked as they would be expected. The higher the pay, the better their performance. Okay, that makes sense. But here's what happens. But once the task called for even rudimentary cognitive skill, a larger reward led to poorer performance. Now this is strange, right? A larger reward led to poorer performance? How can that possibly be? Now what's interesting about this is that these folks here...
Well, I'm not going to show the whole video. It's quite long. But these kinds of videos, I know. So much more interesting than I am. But, but they're really cool, and there's a ton of them out there, and you can check them out. It's not just RSA Animate that makes them. They're becoming quite popular because, like I said, if you have a lower budget but you want to create really visual content and you want to use video, it's a cool way to do it. And you can do it in-house with the right tools. You film the whole process. It's a great alternative to a talking head. You speed it up so that it's not, you're not watching someone hand draw all those little pieces. And you have something that's really stimulating and gives a really great visual component to your message. So that's another kind. And then this one's my favorite. I know everyone in the room is going to love it. Hopefully everyone has seen this website. I know we talked about it a little bit at our last social media breakfast, I think. So this isn't a video and it isn't a photo. It's actually plugged right into the website. It's basically how it works for those of you who haven't seen it yet. It's nohomophobes.com, and you go there. And every day, this is in real time. So every time someone tweets one of these awful words or phrases, it's live updating. And below this, just below this on the website, you can actually see the tweets coming in. And it's overwhelming. And you can track it by week, by all time. And it's so simple and so powerful. Now, a caveat here is that obviously it requires a bit of an investment. I mean, this is programming. But what's really cool is that this kind of stuff is becoming so much more accessible. HTML5 is so flexible, and there's so much we can do with it, and I'm hearing about all kinds of great stuff that developers are creating for users to use now. I see this kind of stuff becoming a lot more accessible in days and years to come. And so this is a really cool starting place for us to see this kind of stuff, and it is absolutely incredible how quickly this got shared. It has spread, across North America, across the world, I'm sure. And like I said, it's so simple. It's great design, colors to distinguish between the different points. You go over one and there's a graph. It sort of is a self-creating infographic, if you will. And yeah, really, really powerful stuff. So this is the kind of content that we need to start sharing. Maybe not creating right now, maybe that's not accessible for everyone, but this is the stuff that we want to be seeking out and sharing, and finding stuff that uses these kinds of principles that can also, be linked to our brand. Oh, I want to pause this for a second. So this is a video that I really want everyone to see, so I hope we can get the sound to work. This is kind of the driving philosophy behind everything that we do, so I really wanted to show it. Hopefully everyone can hear it.
Share the story. Infographics, where data meets design. What makes good data visualization? Take a few seconds to count the sevens in this number set. How many were there? Not sure? Now try. A simple color change makes comprehension almost instant. Color is one of several pre-attentive attributes, like size, orientation, flicker.
Are we okay for sound?
Visual clues that the human brain processes within 250 milliseconds. Now imagine that we're not looking for specific numbers, but patterns. We can use color to show correlation, size to show quantity, or orientation to show trends. And not just data. The power of design can be used to better communicate all sorts of information. Processes, hierarchy, anatomy, chronology. Better communication through innovation. Because your message is only as good as your ability to share it.
So that one wasn't from us, sadly. I wish we had produced that because it's very, very cool. It's by a company called Column 5 Media. And that's very much the driving force behind what we do. So basic design principles attached to information that is generally quite dry or maybe difficult to communicate in words alone can really transform the information that we're presenting. And so that's exactly the kind of video that we do, motion graphic video. But sadly, as I said, we didn't do that one. So just to recap kind of what the video said, so why these visuals, graphics, and multimedia? It's more efficient comprehension. So because the information is absorbed that much faster through cognitive processes, you don't need their attention span for quite as long to get across what it is that you're trying to say. A viewer doesn't have to leave Facebook and Twitter, which is a huge thing recently since they've enabled that. So part of what's really hard for us to get those clicks and get that engagement is that people don't want to leave where they already are, whether it's their Facebook feed or their Twitter feed. It's a lot easier for them to be able to check out whatever it is that you're showing them without having to leave the window. And you can do that with images and videos now. You can view videos and images right within your Twitter feed, and they're previewed right within your Facebook feed as well. And if they are really interested, they will click through and they will open it up. So that's really important too. You can't do that with text unless you take a screenshot of text, and that's just lame. Don't do that. And you can elicit emotional responses that it's really tough to do with just photos. And again, images is a huge part of that, especially for those of us with visual products or a visual company by nature. Images are a great starting point. And visuals just enable us to get that emotional response that we're always looking for. And you really can't accomplish it the same way with just text. So something to think about. And why video? Obviously, I have a whole schwack of statistics about video under the hood of my computer. But I wanted to share a couple with you that I think A, will be the most relevant, and B, that kind of usually get the wheels turning in the right direction when I first start working with a client, at least. So in terms of information retention, on average, a well-produced video increases information retention by 50%. And that's, the really well-produced ones can be way up here. So, and the study included talking head videos, which really don't do that much more. So, I mean, there's quite a range of how much information retention was actually boosted in this study. But 50% on average is not bad. And it speeds up buying decisions by 72% on average. And again, that's including talking head videos. So just by having that extra level of connection to the content, whether it is just something being filmed or if you're having, illustrations or whatever is going on, when you feel like you're seeing more of whatever you're learning about, it speeds up the decision process a little bit more, whether it's buying or just a different call to action, whether you want them to click through to somewhere else or get in touch or whatever it is. Giving them more to connect with speeds up that process. And this one I think is really interesting. It's from Forrester Research, which is what's really interesting. Very reputable research team. And 1 minute of video has the equivalent value of 1.8 million words, according to them. So that one's really cool to me. Obviously, it's not literal. I'm not sure what exactly the logic is behind it, but basically, that's how many words you would need to accomplish all the kinds of thought processes and connections and conclusions and emotions that 1 minute of video can accomplish in your viewers' heads. Look, it's a volcano. I thought that was really funny last night when I was putting this together. Okay, so let's talk some do's and don'ts. I want to make this as applicable across all levels of online marketer as I can. So I want to get down to as basic as I can. So the talking head video. This is, when we're talking about doing video and you want to get started, using video online, this is obviously where most small businesses and organizations are going to go first because it's easy. All you need is a camera and someone that's willing to talk on camera. And you can just go with it. But there are definitely some things that should and shouldn't be done in the world of the talking head video. So ask yourself if the video is actually going to add value. A lot of us, because of all the stats and cool things that I just shared with you, want to do video just because it seems like the next thing. How many billions of hours of video are watched on YouTube every month or year or whatever. We want to be a part of that. But we have to ask ourselves, if we're not willing to put in the time and investment to make a video that's really interesting and stimulating, if it's actually adding any value to what the written content would be. And get creative with it. That's the next step. So if you want it to add value, then find other ways to do it than just a talking head. So whether it is finding an illustrator to do a whiteboard style video or hiring a company like us to make something that's really going to get your message across in a stimulating way. Or scribing is another alternative, which again takes a little bit of skill, but it can be fairly inexpensive. And that's basically what happens is you still have a talking head, but you can hire someone to do some kind of animation in the background that's really basic and simple, but can give some visual interest and add some sticking content to just the talking head. And be meticulous about the quality. So sound, picture, and script are the big three. Studies show that sound quality is the first thing that'll lose your audience. That you click to a video, you might be interested in what the subject is, but as soon as it's kind of fuzzy or you can't quite hear the person properly, the enunciation's not there, that's going to lose them right away. So always invest in an external mic if you are going to do an in-house video. That's a big one. Picture quality, obviously, make sure you have good light. Natural light is always best if you're going to do an in-house video, unless you have professional equipment. And script quality. A video script is not the same content as a press release. It's not the same content as what's on a web page. It needs to be woven into more of a narrative. It needs to have the interest that an interesting video has. And if you need to bring in an outside opinion or an outside writer to do that, that's definitely something worth investing in because, again, you're not going to add value if you're just reading off the content. this kind of repeats those few points. So don't read off your content directly. It does need something a little bit extra. And don't let your quality standards slide. This is something that I see so often where businesses and organizations that have a strong brand, you know, a great looking website, all these other little pieces that they've obviously spent a lot of time and care on. And then, you know, they get so excited about doing a video and they want to get it out that suddenly all the quality standards have disappeared. And they say, well, it's okay that it's not great. You know, at least in the video, at least it's up. But I think we need to stop thinking that way. Because if we're going to be creating this content, just like with that awful blog post that I pulled up, it still needs to be something worth doing. And if it's not your own, if you find content, a video that someone else has done on the topic that you're talking about, that might be a good way to do it if you don't have the time or money or energy to invest right this minute. So I just wanted to show you guys a quick heat map. So this was an eye tracking study that was done on talking head videos and some other things. So this was specifically on a news site, so that's most often where you'll see this style of video, or traditionally it's where you would. And stuff that's designed for broadcast doesn't translate as well on the web because we're so easily distracted. So this is kind of what happens when you're not providing ample stimulation within your actual video. The eyes are going all kinds of random places. They're reading, they're looking down at the play bar, they're looking at how long is left, all that kind of stuff. So we need to do more within that video window to keep the stimulation going, to keep the focused attention span on us. So, the useless infographic epidemic. I want to speed it up here. How am I doing for time?
You're good.
Okay, cool. So do make useful information interesting. That should be the ultimate goal of an infographic. If it's not useful information, it probably doesn't need to be in an infographic, and that's something that I think a lot of online marketers are forgetting. Because again, it's an exciting thing to do when you have a graphic designer. Why not make an infographic? We need to start with something that is at least useful or entertaining. Our goal should be to entertain and or inform. And use your social media intelligence. What's your audience interested in? What are the kinds of conversations that you're having? And how could you maybe translate some of that into one really great visual that you can share and put out on your website and wherever else you want to share it? Okay, so I want to do a little bit of interactivity here. This is going to involve a prize. So this is an infographic. The attack of the debt monkey. So I briefly want us all to put ourselves in American shoes, pretend we're Americans and we care about the American government's debt. That's really the only adjustment we have to make. This was targeted at the general public, average Joe Blow that might be concerned about saving money, credit. It's a company called Money Rates. So everything from loans to mortgages and stuff. So really just look at this as yourself. And I want everyone to read through it, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, so the first person to give me some kind of feedback, whether it's something that you learned from this, something that you're confused about, something you liked or didn't like, that you think was a do or don't. Sorry?
Who doesn't like gorillas?
Who doesn't like gorillas? Okay, fair enough. You win a prize. A protein shake container. Woo! What's your name?
Daryl.
Daryl Winwood. Participation wins you prizes. Okay, anything else? At the back.
Green and brown are great contrasting visual colors.
Okay.
Wait,
Yeah, the colors are actually really well done.
it doesn't tie any emotional ties because money is very emotional, but it's not tying emotional.
Okay, yeah.
I like how it starts the metaphor with the gorilla and then goes into can we tame the gorilla, so it kind of carries that metaphor through.
Yes, yeah.
Finally, the graphics aren't really well integrated with the data. Looking at this doesn't
Yes.
Like all it is really bar charts and that dressed up in graphic elements.
Yeah, totally.
1/4% of the male population is colorblind.
Sorry?
Her population of the male population is colorblind.
Right. So this might not even really. Is anyone in here colorblind? You are?
I had no trouble.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't, the content, maybe it's just me, but like, oh, debt is bad, gee golly. Like, that's not interesting or new. Like,
Yeah.
I knew that.
All the text that actually matters on there is really small.
Yes.
Here I had a hard time reading it.
Yes. I apologize for that. I tried to zoom in as much as I could. But even on my computer, the same way.
Designer's issue, because
Yeah.
they're trying to focus so much on monkeys and gorillas.
Yeah. Yeah.
It probably doesn't speak to every audience like they expected it to, because it's all graphs and bar graphs and stuff that some people may not be able to like decipher very well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's mixed feedback. So there's some do's and some don'ts, certainly, in here. Here's a funny point. I actually found this infographic on a regular feature that a contributor to Forbes online has been doing called This Week in Horrible Infographics. So I thought that was interesting, though, because it's not like this is that bad that I would look at it and be like, oh, this is useless. Why would anyone even make this? Because there's some cool, like they've obviously tried to be entertaining, which is something that I think is exactly, right? The guy's kind of a jerk, but he's funny. And he did make some good points, so I just want to go through a couple of the points that he made, just some things to think about in our quest to maybe produce, really valuable infographics. So to start with, it shows that kind of debt graph thing where it shows an increase, and it almost looks like the monkey becomes a gorilla when it gets bigger because science. So that I thought was kind of weird, and that was a comment from the Forbes contributor. And then the graph itself, did anyone actually learn anything at a glance from that? It's a line graph based on percentage growth, which for anyone that's a statistics nerd doesn't really make that much sense. Also, U.S. population growth mixed with personal debt, because we get more debt with more people, but why are we seeing them on the same? It just, to me, I didn't really learn anything from that particular graph, which, that should be a goal. If you're going to put a graph in an infographic, it should be to present information that's either new or interesting and easy to absorb at a glance. So that was interesting. And then the monkey thing was funny and weird, so kudos to them, I guess. And then all of a sudden there's a gorilla again, and oh no, he stomped on the man and took his money hat. And for some reason they're combining government debt with personal debt now, and what are we supposed to gain out of that as consumers? What does that mean to us in our quest to learn more about debt and government debt? Like, what are we supposed to get out of this? You know what I mean? So again, cool graphics, cool colors, entertaining certainly, but what are we really accomplishing? What are they really accomplishing with their audience in the quest to educate about debt? And then can we tame the gorilla? So then the gorilla, I think, is referring to the government debt again, but then we need to stop feeding our debt monkey, which is personal debt, and there's no money on his money hat anymore, so I don't really know what that means. But just the whole thing, I was just giggling to myself going through it, because there's cool things, but there's also, it's kind of pointless, and you have to ask yourself if they accomplished what they set out to and how much money they spent on getting this thing made and whether it accomplished anything for them. On the flip side, though, this guy from Forbes did find it and did give them a backlink, through sharing it, and I'm talking about it. So
That's what your objective is.
exactly,
You're trying to raise general awareness about debt.
yeah.
And like you said, you're using it, they link to it.
Yeah, I'm talking about it, and it is entertaining. I laughed, certainly, while I was looking at it. So this could go either way. There's definitely some do's and definitely some don'ts involved. But ultimately, we are talking about it, so just something to chew on. So some don'ts. So don't force it. If it's not interesting information, if you're really, really stretching to make it connect to what your business or organization is about, maybe, back to the drawing board. Don't start with useless info. If it's not something that your audience needs to know or cares to know, they're not going to care that much more just because it's pretty. they might look at it, but they're still not going to get anything out of it. So let's not forget those key social media and content creation rules, and that, make it relevant. Just let's not just go in for the hard sell. Let's not create it just for the sake of creating it. It should be about engagement. It should be about creating valuable content. So let's not forget that just because it's shiny and new and pretty. And so don't end up confusing your audience. That was one thing that I had with that monkey thing, was that I looked at it and I was kind of more confused than I was to begin with. I was like, oh, I'm going to learn about consumer debt in the USA. And I didn't. I just learned about monkeys and gorillas. And so anyways. Okay, we're getting close to the end now. So I want to get a little bit nerdy for a minute. I want to talk about analytics. I want to talk about email marketing, which I know in this crowd is kind of caveman talk, but I want to talk about it for one important reason. And interactivity, which is what I'm really excited about right now when it comes to multimedia. So I read an article called Why Email Marketing Shouldn't Be the Ugly Stepchild, and I very strongly agree. For a few reasons. One is that you're not competing with ridiculous crap a lot of times, especially on professional accounts. You're not competing with Gangnam Style and with, political nonsense, and hopefully not too many professional email accounts are getting endless cute kitten photos in their email account. If you're creating valuable content and sending it via email, and you have an email list that's at least somewhat engaged with you in some way, you can actually get their attention that way. And we've done this through experience now. We weren't doing a lot of email marketing before, but we started, getting much better analytics. We're using a new video hosting service now I'm going to touch on, where we're able to track by email address who's actually viewing our videos, what they're doing after they're leaving the email that we've sent them, all those kinds of things. And those analytics are there, especially for multimedia. And so we can't just toss email marketing aside because it's a captive audience. Especially if that person has been willing to give you their email address for whatever reason, you have them there, and they're much more likely to open something up, and it's going to catch their attention, especially if they're a supporter of your brand, and they might miss it on Facebook or Twitter. So we can't forget about email marketing, because we have, in my opinion, we have a much stronger attention span there. 72% of people check their email 6 or more times a day. Those emails are coming in, and they're not getting an endless feed. They're not following thousands of people on their email. They're getting stuff that's targeted just at them. So that's something important to think about. An email, okay, so this is one that's really important, and this is what we've been experimenting with ourselves. So I can share some personal experience from Amplimedia that links to this. So according to their study, email campaigns with video received a 5.6 higher click-through rate, especially if you indicate, obviously, that there's a video in the subject, and then 96.38 higher click-through rates than emails that didn't have a video link. We just did this for the first time. So we finally did, the really good video email where it was just very, very clean and simple, and it was just, the basic image of a window player, a video player. So it had like the play button on it. It was very obvious that if you clicked it, you would go to a video. And we checked the average click-through rate for our industry, which is creative services, is something like 3%. It's the average click-through rate on email for our industry. We had 29% click-through rate. So that was like a 400% increase or something insane like that. 9 times the industry average. So a lot of that has to do with the fact that, we're not just blanket emailing a bunch of people. Everyone that's on our email list, we've made a connection with for one reason or another, whether they've, entered a draw with us or we've met them or whatever it is. But that's how we should be collecting emails anyways. So just wanted to share with the social media crowd that email marketing doesn't have to be the ugly stepchild, especially if you're producing valuable content that your audience can see, and then they can go on social media and share it. And that happened to us with this video. Our fans finally actually got to see this thing that we really wanted to share with them. It was an award that we won. And once they saw that in their email, they went, oh, I have to share this. This is awesome. And they shared it for us. And they all missed it when we tried to tweet it out and post it on Facebook. So think about that. So analytics. This is where I get a little nerdy. I love exploring these things because even though what we do is very new and shiny and exciting and fluffy and, you know, arts heavy, it doesn't really mean anything for our clients unless we can track what's happening with it, and we know that it's at least getting them the attention that they're looking for, or getting their message across, or having their audience, you know, follow through with the call to action. So we're using a new hosting tool that gives us fantastic analytics. So this is that video that we sent out in an email, and this was like a day or two after we sent it out. So we can actually see where we're losing viewers. So you see right at about a minute mark there, we start to have a little bit of a drop-off. And so that's how we know, moving forward, the more we can collect this data, the more we can go to our clients and actually say definitively, this is how long your video should be, because we know that no one's going to be watching after that point. And if you have a lot of content that needs to be, you know, you do need 2 minutes of video, let's split it into 2, and we don't charge anything extra for that, and we'll do 2 separate videos that are shorter, just because we know that they're a lot more likely to get all of that content viewed and have their viewer follow through all the way to that call to action if we keep it short and concise. So that's another sign of the times. I mean, we lose, this isn't as bad as it was when it was a smaller number. When we only had about 20 views, it was an incredibly sharp drop off at about a minute. I think we lost 50% of the viewers or something crazy like that at that mark, which was really interesting. With more numbers, it seems to have evened out a little bit. It's possible that we just had a more captive audience with the second round of people that were watching. And below that, we're able to see by person. Now, this isn't based on email addresses. I didn't want to show you that. Obviously, that's an invasion of the privacy of the people that have those email addresses. But this is what it looks like just from embedding. These are the kind of analytics we can have. So we can see, obviously, that second person there wasn't really that interested, but they kind of wanted to see what it was all about. So they would watch a bit and then skip forward and watch a bit and skip forward. And that's fairly common with video, which is fine, as long as, you know, you're getting them towards the end. And at that about minute and a half mark where they're watching, hopefully we provided some content there where they took something away. A lot of people are watching it all the way through. Some people aren't. And we can see by region, so we can see where in the country or where in the world they're watching from. And this is what's really driving us as we move forward. We want more of this because we're not offering enough value if we can't track what we're offering. And so the next step is interactivity. So again, like I mentioned, stuff like nohomophobes.com is going to be more accessible as time goes on. We can produce this content that our viewers and our audiences can actually interact with. Just like video would have been really inaccessible maybe 5 years ago. You know, it was really just for big companies that were making commercials, all that kind of stuff. Soon, in my world, which I think is fairly realistic, we'll be able to produce content that our audience can interact with. I'm sorry about the text there. Hopefully you can read that. It's already a part of best known practices for online education. For those of you who haven't heard of it, TED Ed is a new TED initiative about education. So it's basically just a website of educational videos that you watch a little clip. It's motion graphic and animated videos mostly. You watch a little clip and then you can answer some questions, and then you watch a little clip and you answer some questions. So it's interactive and you're absorbing that multimedia. Choose your own adventure. So that was what Steve mentioned that Randy and Marliss are working on right now, is a choose your own adventure zombie apocalypse video for Strathcona County Human Resources, of all clients. They are actually filming it at this moment. So we're working with them on the project. We have a very small role. We're just kind of putting it together, the infrastructure to actually make it work. And yeah, very cool, right? And they're just filming it. I mean, it's a not as crazy high budget, but it's crazy innovative, and it's going to be really cool. So basically what happens is, you know, you watch a clip. We all had Choose Your Own Adventure books. You watch a little clip, and then it freezes, and you get 2 options to move forward. If you make enough wrong decisions, you get eaten in a zombie apocalypse. If you make enough right decisions, you end up working for Strathcona County, I believe, is the right ending. and you don't get eaten in the zombie apocalypse. And at the end, you can go back to the beginning or go back one and watch another clip and work through. So very, very cool. Again, this kind of software is out there. It's really not expensive. It just takes some creativity and a little bit of time to produce this stuff, and it can be a lot of fun, and I hope to see a lot more of it. I hope we can do a lot more of it. I've been trying to sell pretty much all of my clients on the concept of a choose your own adventure video, so hopefully soon. Clickable graphics, and we don't need Flash anymore, which is a big thing. All of this stuff is 100% iOS friendly. It all works, it embeds right on your website, and it plays. There's no glitches, there's no incompatibility nonsense, which is very, very cool. And augmented reality, which is a really cool thing. So this is sort of completely unrelated, but it's just something I'm really excited about right now, where in real life, there's iPhone apps where you can, it's like a camera viewer, and you hold it over, say, a business or a product, and the computer generates content based on what that image is. So for us, in a perfect world, hopefully in the future, we're going to do this with Alberta Venture Magazine that we're doing some stuff with, where you hover over something in the magazine and then a video plays, like the graphics on the page kind of come to life based on what your camera viewer is seeing. So, sorry?
Starbucks Christmas cups with the
Yes. All kinds of that stuff. Actually, in the next issue of Alberta Venture Magazine, they're doing some augmented reality stuff. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be pretty cool. So we're very excited about all of this. And hopefully I got you excited about some nerdy things and some multimedia things. And let's talk. I was supposed to give away another prize after that one video, but I completely forgot. So how about prizes to the first two people to ask me questions? I think that's a good way to go. I don't know how to go back to the beginning. Oh, there we go. Cool. Questions?
What's the best way to get a hold of you if we want to talk to you about what your company does and how you help my company?
Well, Twitter, of course. Or I can give you my card afterwards if you want to. Would you like a t-shirt or a $10 gift card to Credo? Yeah. That was a no-brainer. Next question. Anyone? Oh, Gord.
You guys also design slick presentation?
For other people, no. But I can help you with one if you buy me a coffee. Wait. You could have a t-shirt or a gift card to J, what's it called? Studio J Spa? I don't even know where that gift card went.
Somewhere we have. It's so indie.
I'm going to let Steve take care of you on that regard. That one's a large.
Serious? Are you one of those people that just wants to get their swell on, so you grab the t-shirt that's 2 sizes too small, and you're like, yeah, I look good. So much easier than You guys do a lot of work, obviously, in Alberta. Can you speak to any sort of micro trends that are kind of local? Is that looking within one particular geographic area? Does that generate sort of mini trends that you guys have tracked?
That's what we're aiming for. What we do, motion graphic video specifically, is huge in California. Every new tech startup coming out of Silicon Valley has an explainer video, is basically what they're called. In the UK, we're finding a lot of businesses are using these kinds of videos. You go to almost any homepage, especially for business services, B2B stuff, almost always a video on the homepage. And it's something that we're trying to really build traction for in Alberta. We're not the only ones. We have competitors in Calgary and a couple, actually one I think that works out of here, out of the startup space. And it's a medium that we're hoping to build and gain more traction with. I can't say that I know that there are any micro trends locally. I think we need to start focusing on more creative content. NoHomophobes.com came out of Edmonton, which is really, really, really cool. Because it's huge. It's blown up, and it's an incredible piece of design and technology. So hopefully things like that coming out of our ad agencies and our organizations, hopefully more things like that will spark trends of more things like that. Sorry?
Question right here.
Yes.
I mean, this crowd here, you're probably talking to the converted in terms of the value of all this kind of stuff. But what
Right.
kind of advice would you have for talking with clients who might still